All right, well, back to Fantasy Sports. Today we'll be talking about the Pirates' awful trade deadline. Some of the concerns I have for the Steelers in training camp and their first preseason game, which is coming up August 9th, so this Saturday. So let's get into the episode. First, let's talk about the Pirates' awful trade deadline. Obviously, I don't know why this guy's still the GM of the Pirates. Ben Sherrington hasn't proven in a trade that he's done for the team that he's worthy of being the GM next year. Just some of these moves he made. We'll start with the one that was earlier in July. Uh, Adam Frazier to the Royals, and the Pirates received Cam Devaney, who is literally a AAA 28-year-old shortstop who's really the closest to the majors. So that was the first of the terrible trades. Then the only trade that you really can give props to is he was able to get Brian Hayes' contract off the books. They traded him to the Reds, and the Reds took on the whole contract. Well, the Pirates received Taylor Rogers and Sammy Stafora, who was the Reds' ninth-rated prospect, which is the Pirates' seventh-rated prospect, who just got caught up to Greensboro. So basically, if you look at a lot of these trades, it's basically going to help Greensboro go on a huge run. So that was the only good trade he really made, but all these other ones are terrible. David Bednar to the Yankees. The Pirates received Rafael Flores, who was the main piece of the trade. Eglin Perez and Brian Sanchez. So the Yankees 11th and was he the 11th and 9th prospect now for Eglin Perez Rafael Flores is now the 11th overall prospect, and Eglin Perez is the I think, isn't he now the 19th prospect in the Pirates system? And then obviously they got an undrafted or a unranked prospect. And I'm going to give Chris Muller some credit. Apparently he heard that they were offered Eduardo Tate, who ended up going to Minnesota, and the Johan Duran trade. So basically it shows Eglin Perez is a 15th ranked prospect in the Pirates system. And Brian Sanchez is not even ranked in the Pirates system. But it shows that Sherrington's just an awful GM, and why does he still have a job here? And then they took Taylor Rogers and they flipped him to the Cubs for Ivan Breaththrower or another high A ball player. And then the most confusing one that made no sense was trading Bailey Falter to the Royals for Evan Sisk, who apparently has only had 5 major league appearances, and undrafted yet another high ball player in Callan Moss. So basically the trade deadline was shitty as usual. The teams just doesn't seem like the Pirates really have a sense of direction. The general manager just sucks, doesn't know how to make trades. And now it's just been, I don't know how many years, we're like year 6 of this guy's tender, and we've gone nowhere. It doesn't seem like they have a plan. The plan is to like gather prospects, I guess, and hope these guys pan out instead of trying to trade some of these guys to get proven major league talent. But yeah, those were just my thoughts on the Pirates' terrible trade deadline. To me, they didn't do anything to really improve 2026. Like a lot of these guys they acquired. I mean, the only guy they probably acquired that could help them is Devaney, Sisk, and Flores. All the other ones are still gonna have to wait 8 till they show up in 28, 29. By the time that having Skeens is gone to another organization. So they basically don't know how to really have a sense that they have a generational talent and you have to build around that guy while he's here. So in the offseason, they better spend some of that money that they shipped off the books and Hayes and Bednar. Hayes is like $7 million and Bednar's $5 million. So yeah. All right, that concludes my Pirates talk. Now let's get into the Steelers, who it seems like is the only team in town we can get excited about. First, I have some I shouldn't say training camp concerns, but I really only have one, and it's Broderick Jones, because apparently it sounds like he's been getting beat a lot. He's really the main guy that I'm really looking to see. So, we'll get into it. I have the first preseason games coming up, and I have who's expected to play, who is not expected to play. But I'll get into that when I get to that. But yeah, Broderick Jones is the only training camp concern I have. The offense, I really don't have any concern of it, even though the defense is technically seems like it's gelling together and dominating the offense. But eventually the offense will catch up and gel together. Just that Jones is my only Broderick Jones is the only concern I have, because he's going into year 3, and this is the position that they drafted him to play at left tackle. And if that doesn't work, and especially in this regular season, if Aaron Rodgers can't trust Broderick Jones to protect him, I feel like we're going to see a lot of just dump off passes to gain. But yeah, really, he's the only training camp concern from what I've been hearing and reading about from different Steelers beat reporters. All right, now let's get into the Steelers' first preseason game. And like I said, I wrote down who I think is expected to play and who I don't think is expected to play. Now, some of these I could be wrong on. We won't really know, I think, who's expected to play until Thursday of this week, because the first game's Saturday. But in my opinion, I think is going to play. Obviously, I think all the rookies are going to play. So like Derek Harmon, Y.A. Black, Will Howard, Jack Sawyer, Dante Kent. I think they say he is dealing with a injury, so he might not play. Obviously, I wrote for number 2. I wrote Broderick Jones, Troy Fautano, and Mason McCormick. Just because I feel like I want to see how those guys would look in real action against another team. Like I said, Broderick Jones is struggling. And then Troy Fautano, obviously, when he was in there last year against Denver for those couple of games, he looked really good. And then Mason McCormick, see if he can. So basically, that's 3 out of the 5 interior offensive linemen. 3 out of the 5 starting offensive linemen. I just really want to see if Broderick can handle himself against competition, like another opponent. I want to see what Troy Fautano looks like for maybe a series. And then Mason McCormick, obviously, can he duplicate what he was last year, and then before he hit the wall? Number 3, I have the wide receivers minus DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin. I just want to see if there is a second, really is the second wide receiver on the roster. Roman Wilson, obviously, is a guy we're waiting to see how he looks since he missed all last year. And then number 4, back to number 3, the wide receivers match. I also just want to see if there's anybody that really comes out from the wide receiver room that becomes the wide receiver 2. And then number 4, I have the new CBs. Like I had Dante Kent written here, but who knows if he's going to be eligible to go since he's dealing with that injury. I also wrote Beanie Bishop just because I want to see maybe they give him like a series or 2 and then say, all right, Beanie, you are the slot. So yeah, those are just and then also I could probably throw Porter Jr. since he's still relatively young. Maybe I'll also throw Slay and Ramsey in there just because you want to see what those guys look all together. So basically, yeah, the new CBs, and then you just take those guys out after one series and then rest them for the rest of the preseason. Now, obviously, I wrote who I think expected to play. And that's also who I think is not expected to play. So number 1 is obviously the quarterback. So Aaron Rodgers, we all know he's probably not going to play unless it's for like one series and then they get him out. Number 2 is, to me, obviously DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin. So obviously DK, you don't need to really play the first preseason game. You can easily maybe play them the second and then take them out, and that's it. And Calvin Austin, maybe play one series when he's healthy, and that's it. 3, I have the tight ends. Basically, any of the tight ends not named Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, Odell, or Washington. I think, like I mentioned, I really think Connor Hayward needs to play this whole preseason season to show that he's worthy of a roster spot on this team because he needs to be able to play all the positions and show he's able to be that number 4 tight end. And then, yeah, so Hayward, I see, has played Galbraith, obviously. JJ Galbraith, the undrafted tight end they signed, sounds like he's been looking good in camp, but I want to see what he looks like in the preseason. Yeah, so just tight ends that are not named Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, or Denard Washington. Number 4, I have the veterans, so like your TJ Watt, your Cam Hayward, your Alex Highsmiths, your Patrick Queens, your Malik Harrisons, your a lot of the guys that are all like proven, the veterans, the proven veterans, they don't have to play. I don't think they're going to play. And then the other question watching the first preseason game is the Steelers wide receiver 2 on the roster, on the trade block, or in free agency? So that's another one I'm keeping a look at on. So like Roman Wilson, how does he look? Robert Woods, Scotty Miller, Rock Taylor, who's an undrafted guy that I've been reading has gotten some buzz. So those guys, see if one of them can emerge, or do they go to the trade block? And obviously, to me, the realistic option is Terry McLaurin. The not realistic option is Terry McLaurin. I feel like the Commanders are going to sign him to a long-term deal. So maybe there's like another receiver that's on the trade block, like maybe a Jawan Jennings they could go after, or in free agency. Like you still have like Gabe Davis and Mari Cooper out there, and Keenan Allen out there. Even though I just saw Keenan Allen's taking a visit to the Chargers. So yeah, so like the wide receiver two positions really what I'm going to pay attention to on uh, the first preseason, and maybe the free safety position, obviously because of Minka not being there, and then that room being new. So yeah, maybe wide receiver two, and then free safety are really the two positions I'm going to pay attention to during the first preseason game. But yeah, that concludes this episode. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. It's at SenSportsPod. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. It's at SNS Sports Network. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Good night.